The upcoming expositions surrounding Hags have been written as if the players in this fictional campaign are reflecting upon their past events. These reflections are brought on by the surroundings of the players on their final approach to their ultimate foray into extraordinary danger. We at Encounter This would like to express a content and trigger warning for these expositions. They may contain dark themes and imagery, including, but not limited to, outdated cultural opinions, adult content, sexuality, child abuse, gore, and violence that may be uncomfortable for some audience members. Listener discretion is advised.
You unwillingly recall the surroundings of your first willing foray into danger. Strong and troubled tides washed about the shoreline. Slime-covered fish, dead and rotting, lined the sands. An apparent hovel that dove deep into the waters like that of the dams built by river rodents in the northern tales. Inside the dark passages, all manner of eerie things littered the floor and walls. Stolen art of every kind. Sculptures, paintings, even books of poetry. All defaced and torn asunder in some way. What at first appeared to be mere broken glass, impossible to avoid with each step, you came to realize all were in fact bits and pieces of countless shattered mirrors. Much worse than all of this, however, mutilated and bloated corpses lined the corridors. You could not tell what any single one might have looked like in life, but you had caught onto a theme of sorts. You really wished you hadn't. All of these things were once considered beautiful, and were purposefully dragged into the accursed depths of this place, with the intention of rendering them ugly and terrible to behold. You imagine these long-dead men, women, and children were no different. A wicked pang hits you in the right temple, Harry. Nauseated by these recent memories, you shoot a quick look at your companion, your mate, your love, Posey. She's already peering back with an obvious look of concern across her face. You do your best to give her a reassuring look. She gives you a nod, but you decide she is ultimately unconvinced by your attempt. As a result, you have an impossible time tearing your eyes away from her, and your mind from the memory. The main chamber held all of the same horrors and more. Bones, broken and scattered everywhere, the two wicked creatures stood huddled together over a bubbling cauldron, the unmistakable rank of rotting sea creatures and blood. Twiggy and the old hermit woman bound and gagged in the corner, an incredibly large swine covered in boils and lesions, letting out the occasional squealy whimper. The next bit has always been a blur. Adrenaline had flooded your veins and washed away just about every detail. You remember Wren's calm and collected stride into battle, like he had seen hundreds before. Posey's mixed expression of fear, hatred, and undaunted courage. Your own blade sinking into the heart of one of those wailing monstrosities. The immediate events following the retrieval of your plunged blade, however, remain perfectly held in your memory. Auntie Mudgums was not bound or gagged at all. She stood up, pulled her hood back with a sly grin, and took in the battlefield on which you were now victorious. Or so you thought. Her green and boiled leather skin both stretched and sagged all across her neck and face. Drawing Twiggy and the abnormally giant pig up to the cauldron with her, she reached into her robes, procuring a human heart, hundreds of porcupine needles piercing it in every conceivable direction. Cackling, she raised it high into the air, and you stood frozen in place. Posey, too, did not move. Badger, however, lunged forward. Too late. She threw the disgustingly crafted object into the cauldron, and Auntie Mudgums, Twiggy, and the swine vanished in a cloud of suffocating smoke. Another pang hits the side of your head, and you start to reel in pain, Harry. Almost falling to one knee, Posey runs to your side.
Promise me, Posey. Promise me we'll save the child. Promise me we'll save Twiggy.
She gives you a look of great worry.
I promise, Harry. On my life, I promise.
Badger puts his hand on his weapon, his eyes darting in every direction, looking at his surroundings, searching for the cause of Harry's affliction.
Roll a perception check.
Hey there, creatures, and welcome to Encounter This, a podcast exploration of the creatures from Dungeons & Dragons and the lore that surrounds them.
Cabron. Merde. Sacre bleu. Tabernacle. Calice de tabernacle.
Hey there, creatures, and welcome to your second episode of Encounter This in Haguary. Today we're going to be covering Green Hags. Last week we covered Sea Hags. Today our show is going to be run by Freeman, Green Around the Gills Eyston, and as always I am your trusty co-host, James, green with envy that he's not hosting this episode, Kid. Today our creatures are Green Hags as previously stated, and they can be found on the Monster Manual, page 177. And we'll be pulling information from Volo's Guide to Monsters, page 56 to 58. Take it away, Green Around the Gills, Eyston.
Well, my envious friend, we are going to start with something we touched on briefly in the previous episode. And
if you haven't listened to Sea Hags, just go back and do that.
Go back now.
You're going to need it.
100%. You're going to need to really listen to these in order. To be honest, the format's kind of laid out.
Yeah, we're building.
Yeah.
It's episodic. No, it's serial. It's serial now.
It's serial. So we're going to start with Covens. Hag Covens. They are a pretty significant mechanic and lore element to Hags. And we'll start with the basic stuff surrounding it. So a Coven consists of 3 Hags. And it is formed when Hags have a shared goal or, in some rare cases, a shared threat that they need to deal with. Each Hag is considered equal within the Coven, but they do not stop craving more personal power and status. This is like
That's very interesting, considering we touched on leaders of Covens in the last episode. That's how you get to become an auntie or grandmother.
Yeah, so that will, I think, come into a bit of play.
Okay.
For sure. I think that the equality in a Coven is akin to how closely they stick to a bargain or a deal, such as when we talked about a favor being done spontaneously without asking.
Did not talk about that.
I touched on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a little bit in the previous episode. So 3 Hags is the chosen number, so that 1 Hag may preside over settling an argument between 2. It's never any more than 3, and it's never any less. And due to their selfish natures, any number of Hags gathered together that is more than 3 is likely to result in chaos, such as if 2 Covens were to cross paths, which I thought was a kind of a cool point from Volo's. It's like, imagine. Hags are inherently extremely selfish. We'll get into it either this episode or in a future one, just how selfish they are. They really despise having anyone else in their home, in the vicinity, and that sort of thing. And so they will go out of their way to form these Covens sometimes.
Yeah, we touched briefly on the last episode that they have their own specific territory. So the idea of 3 Hags sharing a territory, much less encroaching on another,
very special circumstances every time. Which, again, we'll get to it. It leads a little bit to sometimes a leader. But they always go with 3, mostly to settle arguments which are bound to happen. I can't imagine what it would be like if 2 Covens cross paths. It could be absolute mayhem.
Mountains
or, as
will
my notes
fall.
here said, and I think Volo said, result in chaos. Covens are definitely a special circumstance, and they also allow for special abilities as a result. In connection to Covens, there is a Hag's rare ability that's just in a little excerpt in Volo's Guide, that they can actually change the type of Hag they are.
A Sea Hag cool.
can turn into a Green Hag, for example, and a Coven can help speed up this process with a ritual. So they can actually do it on their own. It can be achieved over a long time through sheer force of will.
So a Sea Hag could digivolve into a Green Hag.
Definitely digivolving into a Green Hag.
That's a term from Digimon for our less dorky listeners. For that one of you out there who's never heard of Digimon.
One of the greatest showing our age moments right there.
It predates Pokemon.
Yeah. So
it's about these 10 teenagers who go into the digital world.
We're not talking Digimon. That's enough of that. But yeah, so a sea hag can change through sheer force of will. It takes usually a very long time, and they usually change to match the environment they're in. So obviously a sea hag by the seashore, the ocean side, that sort of thing. Green hag usually lives in forests and swampy kind of areas. Maybe they also are. Maybe they're moving to that location for a specific reason that's held in that environment. But if they're in a coven, they can sort of recruit another 2 hags to help them with a ritual to speed up the process. I kind of imagine this in a few different ways, such as like a green hag. I love the
idea of a green hag turning into a sea hag and losing power.
It goes right into what we're saying. Like that challenge rating, the CR for these creatures has to be super flexible. With these guys, these creatures are meant to be homebrewed. I feel like.
Yeah, I think so.
Now covens are very rare. Is the thing too. Hags despise the thought of sharing their homes with any other creature, including other hags. They have nothing but disdain for all creatures other than themselves. The only exception is their own minions and any creature directly under their sway. This nature of theirs can be willingly suppressed, however, and as stated before, these covens will be formed to achieve a common goal and become more powerful to face a formidable threat. Some more spellcasting ability, for example, is a major part of forming a coven and is considered to be enough to offset the endless bickering and inconvenience of having other hags around. So they do forming this coven. It's sort of a magical bond, if you will, and they hate having to do it, but they do get this boost in power that they want to use to their advantage.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm fairly certain this was the entire premise behind Hocus Pocus.
Definitely was.
For the record, I've never seen that movie.
You've never seen Hocus Pocus? That's I was about to say the greatest Halloween movie of all time. I actually can't name another Halloween movie, maybe other than Nightmare Before Christmas, but that's
a Christmas movie.
Yeah, that's debatably right. I was literally listening to the Glass Cannon podcast, and they were like arguing.
They're wrong. It's a Christmas movie.
And then, of course, like Halloween. I don't think that counts. It's just in the title.
There's Frankenweenie.
Frankenweenie. All right, I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
Oh, God. In any case, there are ways in which they deal with the death of a hag.
Also, the Craft.
That's not a Halloween movie.
I think the climax happens on Halloween.
It's not Halloween really themed.
No, definitely not. No, the only witch thing I can think of that's Halloween themed that I've seen is that one episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
The new one?
No, I haven't seen the new one.
The new one's actually excellent.
I've heard, yeah. Shout out to Sarah Michelle Gellar, personal friend of the podcast. I think that's who played Sabrina.
No, it was Melissa Joan Hart.
Melissa Joan Hart. Shout out to Melissa Joan Hart,
also personal friend of Sarah Michelle Gellar, I'm sure. So, hags have a way of dealing with the death of a hag that's formed, that's within their coven. If one of the hags in the coven is to be killed, and the other 2 survive, they will likely intend to keep the group from dissolving, especially if their goal hasn't been reached. So they will immediately start searching for a replacement hag, and there may be multiple applicants. They will start to commit atrocities and evil acts in an effort to outdo each other and win over the remaining members of a coven. So if a group of adventurers manages to slay one hag of a coven, it's only temporary win and often later results in an even larger increase in plagues, curses, and disasters in the surrounding region while the potential recruits try to win favor. Like, if you kill one and they happen to be in a coven, you could just make everything worse. And even in very rare cases, much rarer cases, like the chance of any of this happening at all is crazy, but in some cases they will actually seek out or consider inviting a warlock or a wizard of a particularly evil nature that can join the coven to serve the hag's purposes. A human recruit, for example, would be very good at infiltrating settlements.
Crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. Everything can go south if you go towards a hag. Everything.
Did it state the gender of the wizard or warlock?
Nope.
No? So...
Nope.
Okay.
It just said wizard or warlock of a particularly evil nature, I think was the exact
Could complete a coven.
Could complete a coven, absolutely.
But will not become a hag. Got it.
Will not become a hag. No.
Interesting.
I think it just comes down to the fact they have the ability to create that magical bond. There's no mechanic in the books that I saw in which this bond or this coven is formed. I think, to me, it was understood that it's probably a magical bond because they gain extra spellcasting from it.
Yeah, it would have to be some sort of ritual.
Yeah. So there is that open possibility of them recruiting someone else who's not a hag to like help firm out that 3.
There's your adventure hook for the episode, listeners. Evil wizard gets drafted into a coven.
Oh, buddy, that's great. So, in the cases of hags reproducing, which again is via the consumption and rebirth of a child, it is fortunately for the mortal world quite rare. However, it's been known in even rare cases for a hag to do such a thing multiple times and in short succession in order to have daughters very close in age. Sometimes the hag mother will form a coven with her 2 daughters, or maybe even birth 3 to form a coven that serves her.
Awesome.
Now, we're talking about, because we covered the start of covens. Covens are formed if there's a formidable threat to face or a mutual goal. If 3 daughters, if their goal is to serve their mother or their grandmother, that could be a case. That's arguably a circumstance in which they would put up with each other.
That's so good. I take it back, listeners. There's your adventure hook for the episode.
So good.
Shit.
And then in ancient lore, it's been cited that some hags suggest that consuming twins or triplets may result in special abilities. Similarly, consuming the 7th born of a 7th born may allow hags to pass on rare and powerful magics to her daughter.
See, that just sounds made up.
Especially since there's literally no other information to back it up. They just threw it out there. No, I kind of like the twin and triplet thing to a degree, and it's a bit of like a inspiration to homebrew, I would say. Like they get special abilities, or maybe it's a way to justify certain types of homebrew. The 7th born of the 7th born doesn't line up with anything I've read, unless there's some secret faith thing I don't know about.
Yeah, so that twin and triplet shit seems to be directly inspired from some of that Joseph Mengele shit from back in World War II. He was a Nazi scientist who did experiments on women who had twins or triplets born with blue eyes and blonde hair to try and genetically engineer the Aryan race.
That's fucked up.
It's real bleak, but I think that's probably where that lore comes from. Like that's where it seems that twin and triplet magical shit kind of stemmed from, was Joseph Mengele's belief in genetically engineering through the genetics of twins and triplets. Yeah. So
crazy.
I don't know if they intended that, but that's where I kind of see all that stuff stemming from.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, to me, not knowing that, I had no idea that was a thing, but not knowing that the consumption of twins and triplets, the 7th born of the 7th born, the fact that there's cited in ancient lore, as it said, made me think these are very superstitious things. Even for like such a knowledgeable and evil creature, they might still be a little bit at mercy to their own superstitions. There is something that is mentioned in Volo's guide called the Rule of 3. This brought me down a wiki hole. I didn't really know about the Rule of 3. Ed, are you familiar with it?
Yeah, the Wiccan Rule of 3. So let me just throw this at you. From what I understand from some of my friends who either currently or previously were followers of the Wiccan system of beliefs, I think is the right way to put it. There is a law, a rule that says anytime you cast a magical effect on somebody, directly affecting someone else, the result comes back at you threefold.
Right. Okay. Sure.
That was the whole premise of the movie The Craft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I was literally about to say that. The Craft. That was the thing in The Craft for sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, there's far more to the Rule of 3 than that.
Okay.
Like, I was honestly fascinated by this, and it goes beyond the Hags, so it's going to be a bit of a tangent. But to start, Volo's Guide to Monsters has an excerpt that mentions that Hags and quote-unquote purveyors of witchcraft often embrace the Rule of 3. The Rule of 3 states that all things come in threes: good things, bad things, and even strange things. The coven is made up of 3 members, and Hags believe that both good and evil magic, quote, returns upon its source threefold, and that the casting of many spells requires the same word chanted 3 times. That is The Craft. That is The Craft.
There's a lot of that prevalent in like regular culture too.
Sure, man. Yeah, we're gonna get there.
What is that weird game where you look in a mirror and say something?
Oh, it's
Bloody
Mary. You say Bloody
Yeah.
Mary 3 times, whatever. She's supposed to appear. So planar travelers long ago discovered that the many layers and realms of the multiverse are formed in multiples of 3. And some hags have embraced this planar superstition while traveling to different planes themselves. Some older and more powerful hags, however, claim to have made up the concept or at least have named it.
So talk to me about that planar superstition. What is that?
Well, I honestly didn't dive too far into it.
Okay.
There wasn't that would take an extra work because it wasn't really explained in Volo's guide. I do think it's a deliberate reference to, this is, I guess, a bit of a spoiler, to night hags, who are the only hags that aren't fae. Particularly because they traveled a long time ago to the lower planes and were transformed over time. So because, again, this is like planar travelers long ago, ancient lore that's cited. This is all like, hearsay and tradition or superstition that's sort of passed down through hags.
You know what? I wonder if it's the alignment grid. Neutral, good, evil, lawful, chaotic, neutral. I wonder if that's the 3 multiples they're talking about, because each realm represents one of those
that
things
could
on
be,
the scale.
yeah. They talk about many layers and realms, but the 9 hells. That's a multiple. It's divisible by 3. There, I don't know all of the multiverse and the different planes very well. Like I couldn't really list them off, but
Especially in 5e, they're pretty piecemeal.
Yeah, but this seems to imply that no matter where you go, there's a sort of multiple of 3 or a connection to 3 in some way.
Yeah, so there is 12. Each one represents a different position on the alignment
Right.
grid. I want to call it Punnett square, but it's not.
That's a matrix.
Yeah, I guess it's a matrix. I think.
I have no idea.
Right and incorrect as
I just
listeners.
threw it out there.
So I wonder if that's what they mean. So like all chaotic planes were created together, all chaotic neutral planes were created together, or all neutral planes, all good planes, all evil planes, all or
all lawful.
all lawful, or all neutral, or all chaotic, or all good and neutral and evil were created
So on and so
together.
forth,
So there would be three of 3. So it's 9 planes.
Yeah. So I mean that's seems to be what it's referencing anyway. Like I knew you would know more than I do about it.
I love the planar.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. I mean, especially since we started this podcast, I can't wait to dive more into it. It's something that's always been on my to-do list. Now I have like a sort of obligation. It's awesome. There is another reference to the rule of 3, and it's a kind of a weird one. There was a Cambion in 3rd edition in the Forgotten Realms, on the Forgotten Realms wiki is where I got this. His name was Rule of 3.
So for the listeners, explain what a Cambion is.
Cambion is a half demon, half mortal, I believe. They are basically a demigod, and they're usually quite powerful. I know since we started playing Ghost of Saltmarsh recently, there is a whole kingdom in the Greyhawk setting that is run by a Cambion. So he's in the mortal world, and he has lots and lots of power. But they are, I believe, half demons.
So spoilers for our upcoming Cambion episode, which I'm going to be honest, I think this should probably just be your next one because these are great.
Are we doing Rakshasa?
Yeah.
Cancel Rakshasa.
Your next one.
Oh, my next one. Okay, sure.
They're the offspring usually of a succubus or incubus and a human.
Cool.
So they are a fiend. I think incubi are devils, but I'm prepared to be corrected on that.
I think you're right.
They're CR5, so yeah.
Yeah. In any case, basically, this NPC, this character, and this is pretty damn cool. I also love that it's from 3rd edition, by the way. He worked for Grazd, who is a demon lord and one of the most powerful fiends in the Abyss. He worked with him to unite 3 groups of devils and demons, the Betezu, which were only in 3rd edition, the Tenari, which were in 3rd and 4th edition, and the Yugoloths, who were in 3rd and are in 5th edition. The goal was to unite them and take over the upper plane, because it's well known that basically anything in the Abyss lower planes, like they're constantly kind of warring with themselves, right? So they had this plan to bring them together. So 3rd edition character named Rule of 3, trying to bring 3 groups together to take over the upper planes. Rule of 3 himself was considered the most knowledgeable source on all things related to the Abyss. This one person.
You should have seen me just shoot up in my seat.
Seriously. This is referenced specifically in the 2006 Wizards of the Coast book, Fiendish Codex 1, Hordes of the Abyss. That's where the Rule of 3 D&D stuff ends, and this is where my Wikipedia hole starts. The rule of three is also a literary principle, and this is directly from the wiki. A writing principle that suggests a trio of events or characters is more humorous, satisfying, or effective than other numbers. The audience of this form of text is also thereby more likely to remember the information conveyed because having three entities combines both brevity and rhythm with having the smallest amount of information to create a pattern. It makes the author or speaker appear knowledgeable while being both simple and catchy. Example given, Three Little Pigs, Three Billy Goats Gruff, or The Three Musketeers. There was also an old Latin phrase, omne trium perfectum, meaning everything that comes in threes is perfect, or every set of three is complete.
See, that's really interesting, because even in culinary school, one of the things they taught me was that everything should come in odd numbers. So instead of having a singular item on a plate, 3 is more appealing than 2. 3 is more appealing than 4. 5 is more appealing than that. But 3 is like the magic number. So if you're going to have, a chicken breast on a plate, you want to cut it up and you don't want to do individual slices, cutting it in 3 will make it look more appealing than cutting it in 2.
I thought that was so cool. It's such an obvious influence.
Yeah, there's also 4 Musketeers, for the record.
Yeah, technically there is. I fucking knew you were going to bring that up. I fucking knew it.
Can you name them?
I absolutely cannot. I know D'Artagnan's one, but other than that...
D'Artagnan's the 4th Musketeer.
Fuck me. I had no idea.
I think this is as good of a time as any.
Oh, couldn't agree more.
Listeners, you know that sound? It is our... I guess weekly at this point, plug to Strange Fellows and their delicious, delicious Blackmail Stout. Yeah. This episode is sponsored by Strange Fellows Brewing, and they were stupid enough to say yes to giving us a 6-pack of Blackmail. So a big thank you to them. All right, talk to me about Green Hags.
Like sea hags, not too much to cover, but as the name implies, they are a sickly green in color. The monster manual picture depicts one like a kind of that classic stereotypical witch, like Wicked Witch of the West. Kind of a long nose, large bulging bridge, like long scraggly white hair, long black fingernails. Everything is apparently long. Teeth are definitely decaying, sharp and pointed. Green hags are obsessed with tragedy. They experience their greatest joy by bringing other creatures low and watching them fall into despair. So just like the sea hag. Not even just an individual, however, but sometimes a whole nation can be a green hag's target. They love to manipulate. They are masters of deception, and they mask their true intentions when spoken to or are striking a deal. They actually are able to mimic voices and sounds of say animals to lure or drive away creatures. And they tend to dwell in dying forests, lonely swamps, and misty moors. That's a direct quote. Often taking up shelter in caves in the nearby area, which now brings us straight to the mechanics. So they are a CR3 creature, only one above the sea hag. They have a 17 AC, however, which is considered natural armor. And 82 HP. So we're at 30 above the sea hag, it looks like.
That's a pretty beefy AC for a CR3.
Yeah, it absolutely is. They are a medium-sized creature. They are fey, and they are neutral evil, as opposed to chaotic.
Weird.
Yeah.
Did not see that coming.
Didn't really find anything in particular that lands on it, like lore-wise or description-wise. But there it is. They are neutral evil. As far as the languages go, they don't have giant, but they do have Draconic and Sylvan.
Oh.
Along with Common. And they do have some skill bonuses, unlike the Sea Hag. Sea Hag, CR2 doesn't have any
yeah, Sea Hag is the white bread of hags.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, we've got like a little bit increased Arcana, Deception, Perception, and Stealth. All kind of makes sense in that sort of category. They have Dark Vision, which Sea Hags have as well, I believe. I can't remember if you covered that or not. And oddly enough, Green Hags are also amphibious. They can breathe air and water. I thought that was a really odd one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that'll make more sense when we get into their layers.
Also, unlike Sea Hags, they are the first in the list to have innate spellcasting. The spellcasting ability is Charisma, which they have a +2 in. The DC is 12. At will, they can cast Dancing Lights, Minor Illusion, and Vicious Mockery. But that's it. It's very limited. But they do have the ability called Mimicry, which I spoke of earlier. They can mimic animal sounds and humanoid voices. It's a DC 14 insight check to determine that these are imitations.
I wonder if you'd prompt that check.
I think you would. I feel like you kind of have to. if you hear like someone, well, I guess it depends on which one. If they're mimicking like an animal sound, maybe not, or maybe you would if you
Like if a young girl's calling out to you.
But if it's the voice of someone, say the party is venturing towards to save, you might not, because it would be up to the players to be suspicious.
Yeah, I don't think I'd prompt that.
No, I think it depends on the circumstances. It depends on the sound. Depending on the circumstances, I would give or take it. In any case, they have. I think just like the Sea Hags, they have a claw attack. I don't think we went over it. Slashing damage is a little bit higher to hit, a little bit higher damage.
Yeah.
I did accidentally write, or I think I just actually used your Sea Hag notes as an outline for mine, so I forgot to take out Death Glare. They do not have Death Glare, despite what my notes say.
That's good.
Yeah, but they do, however, have illusory appearance. So it's the same as the Sea Hag, but it doesn't have to be ugly like the Sea Hag. But it does not stand up under physical inspection. It's a DC 20 investigation to determine the hag is disguised, which is pretty high for like we're talking level 3 party here, right? So DC 20 is a pretty hard one to achieve on average, I would say. In any case, they've got a claw attack. I think like the Sea Hags we covered. A little bit higher to hit, a little bit higher damage, but nothing too special. And I see here in my notes that I think I used your notes, James, from the Sea Hags as the outline for mine for Green Hags here. And I forgot to remove Death Glare. They do not have Death Glare. I can tell you that right now. And they also have the ability called Invisible Passage. So the hag turns invisible until she attacks, casts a spell, or loses concentration. And here's the thing I noted about this. There's no cooldown at all. She leaves no trail and can only be tracked by magical means. At level 3, I don't really know who's got magical means for tracking. Maybe a paladin for an evil creature. But
Rangers.
I don't even... Is it magical? They're tracking? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
you know how I feel about Rangers and Magic, period.
But what this seems to imply, though, is that and it is an action. It is under the actions list. It is a standard action to produce. But she can do it over and over and over and over.
Yeah, but invisibility isn't that big of a deal. It's like lesser invisibility in Pathfinder. Like, as soon as you attack, you're no longer invisible.
Right.
So you get...
100%, yeah.
It's not like the hag has sneak attack damage.
Yeah, I'd say there's a potential for a good flavor in the combat with it, where if every other turn she goes invisible, repositions herself, and then the next turn she attacks, but then you also run the risk of really dragging that combat on.
Yeah, but if she's in melee combat and goes invisible, like, you could still prompt attacks of opportunities with a mischance. There is...
Sure.
You can still identify an invisible creature. Mm-hmm. Just because you can't see it, you would set a DC, roll a perception check.
Right.
Like, invisibility to me isn't that big of a deal unless you've got something like silence going on, because you're still going to hear that hag creaking around in her apartment full of shit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess it's sort of debate, because I don't have it written here verbatim, but again, not only she does leave no trail, she cannot be tracked by any means. I guess sound wise, you would still pick some stuff up. Maybe she stinks real bad too.
Yeah, tracked is specifically in reference to tracks.
To tracks.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So
fair enough.
Yeah, you can still, like, especially if you're in melee combat, she goes invisible. Like, I don't know if I'd give whoever's in melee attack an attack of opportunity, but I probably would.
Yeah.
Like, she goes invisible. Do you want to take an attack of opportunity? Because that's spellcasting in melee combat.
I think I wouldn't the first time, at least. I think it would be like...
it would be a surprise.
Like, boom,
yeah.
holy shit, she's gone. What the fuck, right? But maybe afterward you realize maybe a couple of homebrewed or series of checks with the players, that they pick up on the fact that if she disappears, she's still going to be where she's at.
Yeah.
So they get that attack.
I already know how I would homebrew this. I played Green Hags before, so I've already tweaked this to a point that it's super OP, and I love it.
Yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah, I make that.
We'll cover that.
I make that a reaction.
Awesome. Okay, sure. Yeah. So yeah, we'll cover that in the final episode then. Now this brings me to back to Covens a little bit, because I want to talk about their shared spellcasting.
Yeah. So here's something we didn't touch on in Sea Hags.
Yeah. So I decided we're going to hear, not only are we talking about Covens in this episode, but this is the first hag with innate spellcasting as well. So it made sense to cover shared spellcasting from Covens.
Yeah. So each hag goes up a CR or doubles their CR?
The CR increases by 2.
Increases
so now
by
you have
2.
3 creatures that are 2 CR higher than their usual. So you do have to consider that. It's like it's not just one. They don't all share a CR by any means. They are 3 separate creatures. However...
So this would make 3 CR5 creatures in a coven.
Correct, yeah.
So that's like a level 10 encounter.
Sure, can be. And you'll see why, too. Now, there is one caveat to the shared spellcasting. They have to remain within 30 feet of each other. I don't think it specifies, but I imagine it's not like number 1 has to be within 30 feet of number 2, and as long as number 2 is within 30 feet of number 3, like that's 60 feet between 1 and 3.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case. I wouldn't do it that way anyway. I would make sure they are all... Like, each one has to be within 30 feet of the other 2, is how I would do it. Now, they get 4 slots for level 1 spells, Identify and Ray of Sickness. They get 3 slots at level 2 spells, Hold Person and Locate Object.
I don't fucking understand why they give monsters these...
Locate Object.
These fucking... They're non-combat spells. Like, why...
They get 3 slots at level 3, Bestow Curse, Counterspell, and Lightning Bolt. 3 slots at level 4, Phantasmal Killer and Polymorph. 2 slots at level 5, Contact Other Plane and Scrying. And 1 slot at level 6, Eye Bite. Now,
do you know what Eye Bite does?
Off the top of my head right now, I did look it up when I was making these notes.
What? I can't even imagine. I've never even heard of that one.
It's not what you think. I'm going to pull it up right now.
It can't be.
Know it.
No, I don't know it, but it can't be what I think it is.
Okay, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it to you right now. For the spell's duration, your eyes become an inky void imbued with dread power. 1 creature of your choice within 60 feet of you that you can see must succeed a wisdom saving throw or be affected by one of the following effects of your choice for the duration. On each of the turns until the spell ends, you can use your action to target another creature, but can't target a creature again if it has succeeded a saving throw against the casting of Eye Bite. Here are the options. Asleep. The target falls unconscious. It wakes up if it takes any damage, or if another creature uses its action to shake the sleeper awake. Panicked. The target is frightened of you on each of its turns and must use the dash action to run away from you, yada yada yada. And sickened. The target has a disadvantage on eye rolls and ability checks. At the end of each of his turns, it can make another wisdom saving throw. This is a level 6 spell. It's so fucking mundane.
Yeah, it seems...
It's concentration. You can. Now, here's the thing. You can transfer from one creature to another.
Yeah.
As long as you maintain your concentration. You can constantly fuck someone's day up kind of idea. And when I look at this full list, it seems to me it falls in line with the Hags' personality where they don't like to engage in anything. These are all preventative spells.
Yeah, other than Lightning Bolt.
Lightning Bolt's obviously, and Ray of Sickness, they're direct attacks, more or less. Contact Other Plane. Polymorph is something...
Scrying is the killer.
Yeah, Bestow Curse is like something to hold you back. Even Hold Person, that's before combat starts. You're trying to do something with that, right?
Yeah.
Eye Bite is in the same vein. It does seem a bit strange to me. This would be a CR10 encounter with these spells.
I just did that math off the top of my head. I can't back that up.
Let's assume that it is, or even if it's the CR8. You know, it's going to be certainly higher than 5. Yeah. It doesn't seem like it's.
I mean, Phantasmal Killer is, it's save and done. Like Polymorph is save and done. Mm-hmm. Counterspell's pretty beefy, but only against other casters.
Yeah. And that's like
Scrying.
You only get 3 slots.
Yeah.
And if they're not attacking with Lightning Bolt, then all they're doing is counterspelling or bestowing. That's the most powerful line, in my opinion. But they only get 3 casts.
Yeah.
In any case, their spell slots are shared.
Yeah,
which is really
that
important.
makes sense. What's the DC for these?
DC is 12 plus the Hag's intelligence modifier.
Is that high for like a Green Hag specifically? Is it a good modifier?
The intelligence modifier on a Green Hag is +1. So no.
So DC 13 for a coven of these hags, which is, I don't know, man. I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't really see it either.
Even their innate spellcasting list is pretty.
Yeah, this is a bit of maybe a spoiler as well, but the spellcasting ability is intelligence in this case. When we talked about layer actions, the DC is always based on the highest ability of a hag, but innate spellcasting across the board, I can tell you right now, is always charisma. So it's only in a coven that it switches to intelligence. They are meant to be charismatic creatures. So there is a sort of...
They're nerfing their own creatures here.
But if I could be the apologist for a second, they're kind of throwing in that they don't actually like being together kind of thing. Their charisma is out the window. They
For
are...
sure.
And they have to rely on their collective intelligence.
Okay, so what is a Green Hag's charisma modifier?
A Green Hag's charisma modifier is...
3?
It's a +2. But
+2,
they are only a CR3 on their own.
But, I mean, even if at a CR... Like, we're looking at a DC 14 versus a DC 13.
If it were to be. I think they missed they dropped the ball and missed the point on they should have made Covens more complicated. They should have increased more things.
I don't even know about that. Like, again, for me, making a creature more interesting and better is oftentimes as simple as increasing the DC or the spellcasting modifier.
Now, there is one point to make in regards to this as well, is that not all Covens have to be 3 CR3 Green Hags. And that intelligence modifier for the spellcasting is based on the highest one of the group. You could very well have a very powerful, like, homebrewed CR10 Night Hag who's got 2 CR5 Green Hags, and they get the benefit from her higher intelligence.
Yeah.
There is always that possibility.
Not to get too deep on it now, but I can tell you for a fact that if I were to create a Green Hag coven, they would not be alone. There's nothing in this world that would allow a hag
for sure
to be left alone. Any hag, whether it be a single hag or a coven, they would always have a bruiser because they do not want to get their hands dirty.
And I can tell you for sure that, not in this episode, but in a future one, we will 100% cover minions of hags.
Yeah.
They're very much a big part of what they do.
Yeah, because they don't want to do the heavy lifting.
Absolutely not.
So I would never have just a coven of Green Hags. That might be the last line of defense, but there's always going to be something bigger and badder. Maybe it's even a CR2 Manticore hanging around the corner, something to get down and dirty.
Down and dirty. There's also a mention, I'll just cover it really briefly, in Volo's Guide. There's alternate coven spells. So they sort of recommend looking for a theme around hags, depending on maybe what their goal is or the threat they're facing. And they give a couple of examples, like they could have, the coven could be sort of obsessed with death and the manipulation of it. So it changes their list right across the board. They have false life, inflict wounds, gentle repose, rave enfeeblement, blight, death ward, circle of death is their 6th level spell. Very different approach. And then you also have ones in nature where they try to exert control over their environment. So that changes things. So like flame spear, moonbeam, dominate beast, wall of thorns.
I'd be real curious to find out if those were just the cleric domain spells.
That's a very good question. Yeah, I wonder.
But there's an idea for you. Just rip cleric domain spells based on what your hag's goal is.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Why not even just make some actual proper battle-ready hags? Armor up and go in with some war magic. Like,
yeah, why not?
What do you
maybe that third member of the coven is a war mage.
One thing is for sure, we are very much endorsing homebrew with hags from the beginning.
Especially with hags, because the lore is so dark and insane, and the mechanics are just kind of
blasé.
They're just kind of pussycat. Like they don't
back up that lore.
They don't really know. They're not as vicious as I feel like they could be or they should be.
Yeah, that being said, that's just the first 2 hags so far. We know.
Yeah, but even in the coven mechanics, like hold person's great. Why the fuck isn't hold monster on here?
Yeah.
Like why isn't magical jar on here? Mm-hmm. Like why aren't spells like that on here? Instead we get phantasmal killer, which is, for my money, one of the worst 4th level spells.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think it's worth it. I've never seen it work, and I've used it a lot.
Okay.
Or attempted to use it a lot. Bestow Curse, I think, is a great spell. Counterspell, I think, is great. I don't think Lightning Bolt fits. Like, I don't. Ray of Sickness, Identify, those are great. Hold Person, Locate Object. Again, utility spells on a monster, I don't really.
I mean, I would say to a certain point that comes up to your style of play, both as a DM and as a player, and whether you think they should have a function with this. I think it's maybe okay that Wizards Coast decided not to omit the possibility of having these utilitarian spells.
So let me get that out. As a DM, I will just give my creatures utility spells as things they can do.
Right.
Like, you will never encounter a caster that I'm sending against you, like a mage that doesn't just have detect magic going at all times.
Right, sure.
Like, there's no reason that locate object just isn't part of their.
Why
their
on
thing.
earth do we even have a slot attached to it? Just
That's it,
be.
right?
Yeah,
Like first and second level spells, if something has access to it, I'll pretty much just blow through that spell list. It doesn't matter what it's located. That's just one of my homebrews. Utility spells they can just have.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to really affect. There's no hag that I will possibly use that will ever need locate object in combat.
No, I wonder. In combat, certainly not.
No, one of them, if a hag needed locate object, I can tell you one of these three would cast scrying. While they're scrying, the other one would cast locate object. While they're scrying, the third one would then cast identify. That's how I would use those trio of spells.
Done.
Immediately.
Yeah, sure.
There's no... You're giving me the mechanics, but you're giving me utility mechanics, and I get that it's for the new DM, but give them something they can punch with.
Right. Yeah.
Like, just give it locate object. Like, why is that even a spell slot? Like, that should be your once per day spell. Like, that's your innate spell casting bullshit. Like, utility spells are all innate spell casting, as far as I'm concerned. Like, give them Ray of Feebleness.
I can't argue against it, really. I just can't. Yeah. One thing is for sure, we've talked about this before, like just on our own time. But like one thing that needs to be mentioned is that monsters function different from PCs, from characters.
Yes.
They are a completely different ballgame. You cannot build a monster or an enemy in the same way you build a character. It doesn't work. It's not mechanically viable. It's also quite dull. I've done it, and it was a mistake.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was James who pointed it out to me. Don't do that. And he was totally right. They do function. So having those things is innate. Having them as once per day, so having them as just giving us them, that's perfectly legitimate. Even if it's technically homebrew, it is a legitimate way to approach it because that's how a lot of these creatures are already built.
Yeah, look up web DMs for creating monsters and look at Matt Koval's action-oriented monsters. They'll be more prevalent in his Kingdoms, in MCDM's upcoming Kingdoms and Followers book. But look up those two videos specifically, and they make a really... they make really great points in that monsters have to act differently than players. And I don't agree with giving monsters spell slots.
Right.
But I understand the need for simplifying the action economy.
Yeah.
And we will do an episode on homebrewing monsters from scratch, from building up, like really creating our own distinct monsters, because that's something I'm very interested in. And it's something I think this show could benefit from. But we're going to get into that way down the line once we learn a little bit more.
We've already thoroughly dove into homebrew when we were supposed to. So.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So, I mean, not even on Hags. I mean, in general.
Yeah,
like, I want to do an episode where we come up with a monster from scratch.
Yeah,
like, just live, you and I just build a monster.
Okay, cool.
Probably a bonus episode. But,
Yeah. That'd be fun.
Once we learn more about how monsters work specifically, we clearly have definite opinions about how they should work.
Yeah.
But I think we could do some more research.
For
but talk to me about their layers. What is the locale of a Green Hag like?
So within 1 mile of Green Hag lair, you will see illusory duplicates of the Green Hag, and they'll appear at random, but never more than one at a given time. Mechanically, they have no substance, but they move, sound, and are identical to Green Hags. They'll just appear. It'll be, one will appear in the peripheries and the sides, wherever in front of you, and it'll disappear again. However, a creature within 60 feet of the duplicate is known to the Green Hag, and she can interact through it as if she's in her duplicate's space.
So it's like the Sea Hag's dead fish.
Kind of, yeah, but it looks identical to the Green Hag.
So this is okay. This
it moves like her. It acts like her. She can speak through it. It disappears if it takes any kind of damage.
This is the only layer regional effect that I've read that I like.
Yeah, it's great.
We can have some serious fun with that.
Yeah, so you can really be fucking with somebody in their head and stuff like that, and like really thinking you're like already on the edge of the Green Hags there. But this is within 1 mile of it. They also, the region also takes twice as long to traverse than normal, because thick brush and plants are everywhere, along with reeking mud. And I kind of wonder how that is employed with, say, a ranger's ability or a ranger's favorite terrain. They might have the ability to track faster through it, but because this specifically says it takes twice as long, does that sort of negate it and you remove it at a normal pace?
For me, it would. Yeah. Easily.
I think that's what I would do.
I wouldn't even. I think they would still take twice as long because it's not their favorite terrain. This is magical shit.
Sure. Yeah.
Their favorite terrain is the natural world. This is not natural.
Yeah. Here's another one I thought was really cool too, is that trees will even transform into an awakened tree and attack trespassers.
Interesting.
That's a direct reference to our tree ants, an awakened tree.
And I was looking, and I think there's a stat block for the awakened tree at the end of the monster.
Is there? Yeah. Okay. And I, of course, imagine that this awakened tree is probably more mindless and certainly evil, or at least chaotic.
Awakened tree, intelligence of 0.
Yeah. So definitely
that's on the monster manual, page 317.
Cool. So we that's the regional effects. So we get into the lair actions again. Highest ability, which I thought was a little bit interesting too, because actually, the Green Hag, her strength is actually her highest ability score. So her DCs for her lair actions would be based on her strength. I mean, it's not really based on their strength. Sorry, they just set the DC at the highest ability score, right? But I still thought it was kind of curious.
Is it the highest ability score? I thought it was their highest saving throw.
The saving throw DC is the same as the Hag's highest ability. I'm pretty sure is what it says, which is ability score. Now, I don't know how to interpret that otherwise.
No, I mean that's right. That sounds right. That's rules as written.
So. These actually duplicate the regional effects, but are a little more present and powerful. So the duplicate that she can create through the regional effects is now present and has the same stats as the Green Hag. It can even hold or interact with real physical objects in the environment. If I remember correctly, it does have to remain within 60 feet of her vision, though. It cannot, however, take an action or reaction of any kind, and still disappears if it takes any damage, and can be dismissed or disappears if out of view of the Green Hag. There you go. It, of course, drops any objects it's been holding if it does disappear. And as long as the Green Hag can see her duplicate, she can freely move it and make it speak as if it were herself.
Single mirror image. Cool.
Basically, yeah. So very flavor based rather than like, I just imagine like the hags like walking around like before combat starts. Again, like I'm sure this initiative counts something in there. I don't. Yeah, it can't do anything. It can hold objects. It can, but
it can't find them because taking out objects are part of an action.
Pretty flat and boring at the end of the day, isn't it? Yeah.
Mechanically, that's vicious.
But I have one last thing to cover. Before we finish this one up, and it is another coven-related thing, and it's called the Hag Eye. A coven can craft a Hag Eye made from a real eye coated in varnish, and it's often set into a pendant or another wearable item. It is often given to a minion for safekeeping and or transport, and the coven can take an action to see what the Hag Eye sees, provided it's on the same plane. The Hag Eye actually has an AC of 10, has 1 hit point, and it has dark vision. And if it's destroyed, every member of the coven takes 3d10 psychic damage and is blinded for 24 hours.
Holy fuck.
Only one Hag Eye can be created and owned by a coven at one time. It takes 1 hour ritual to create, but the ritual cannot be performed if any of the hags are in fact blinded. And any other action taken during the ritual means the ritual must be restarted.
So why would they even do this? Why would they create a Hag Eye?
Well, here's one of the beautiful things that I definitely, to a degree, implemented in my expositions. And it's that they love their minions, and we'll get to it, and including having that evil wizard or warlock. They love to have inside information. They love to use these different implements, including the Hag Eye, to spy on. They will corrupt children. They will continue to influence them even after they've consumed them, rebirthed them, and given them back to the village. A Hag Eye is their ability to retrieve information. It could be an instrument that they give to someone as part of one of their bargains, one of their deals, to go and spy and get the information they need to continue on with, say, maybe another bargain or further their grand schemes.
Okay, I like that. You've convinced me. I mean, that's really insane how tied to that thing they are.
There's a reason why I ended up covering all the expeditions, and as I read more about Hags and as a whole and all of their elements, I could only imagine a massive campaign surrounding Hags. If I was going to use them, it would be Hags. They would be the ultimate enemy. There would be several of them, series of them that would all be connected, and they all of these little bits and tools and devices they have are all going to be put to use in some degree or another. And I hope that there's a part of me that's like nervous, I guess, about the expeditions. I hope they're enjoyed. I hope they're understood. I put a lot of time and effort into them. There's a lot of subversive and background things related to all this lore and history and mechanics that we're going to cover over these 5 episodes. But I thought as a whole and as a big picture, they all worked really well together. Even if some of them were kind of lackluster, especially on their own, I think they work in a storytelling way very, very well.
Yeah, I think that's a great note to end Green Hags on. Our next episode that we'll be recording is Rakshasa. So if you've got any stories about them, hit us up on Twitter at EncounterPod. If you've got any extra shekels a month and you feel like sending them our way, hit us up on patreon.com/encounterthis. And please rate and review on your platform of choice. Thanks for listening, creatures, and we'll get at you literally next week with...
Anise Hags? Don't know how to say this one.
We're going to say Anise and Burr. Burr.
Anise and Burr.
Anise and Burr.
Burr. Like the East Coast. Burr.
All right. Burr, everybody.
Stay green. With a vicious blow, spurts of dark, already congealed blood cover your hands and arms as Auntie Mudgums crumples under the weight of your sword into a pitiful pile atop her hill of corpses. You feel a sharp pain in your lungs as you realize just how out of breath you are. You ever so slightly loosen your grip on the sword in your hand. Time seems to speed up around you, but your own motions and thoughts resist in catching up. It dawns on you. Piece by piece, Harry fell. With a last-ditch stand, he gave you the opening you needed. But he fell. A promise kept, but at the expense of the wrong life. As you work up the courage to turn where you last saw him on his feet, you hear a sudden squealing. Instinctively, you whip around, blade back in full grip, to face Auntie Mudgum's strangely giant pig. Covered in its, or perhaps her, trademark weeping sores and violent gashes, it starts to squirm in apparent agony, collapsing to the ground next to the unholy mound. You gaze terrifically as the beast twists and shrinks, writhes and grows, in mortifying jerks and tugs as it slowly takes on a humanoid form. It then lays still for a mere moment before you detect small, subtle movements. Raising your sword higher, you ready yourself, though in truth you feel far from ready. The form begins to stand and reveals an aged man, tall and starkly naked. He bends forward to retrieve a rusted blade coated in dried blood from the pile of decaying bodies at his feet. Deftly raising it as if it were nothing more than an extension of his own arm, he stares through you, barely acknowledging your presence at all. Instead, he directs his attention and the threatening pointed end of the blade at the now rescued Emmy Twiggy Craycatcher. In a booming but hoarse voice, he declares,
I, Sir Dudley Ambrosius, Oathbreaker, sentence you, spawn of evil and child of hags, to death.
Posy, as you turn to Twiggy, her visage embraces a dark and shadowy nature. She opens her mouth as if to speak, but instead she bares her teeth and lets out an unholy hiss. Roll again for initiative. But if you're interested, I will continue on this little tangent.
Yeah, please.
So there are
Well, he furiously Googles the Three Musketeers.
Well, I have literally in my notes it was like pull up the wiki page if you want to keep going. So it's also known to appear in slogans and catchphrases. Here's an excerpt from a book related to advertising. The mission of an advertisement is to attract a reader so that he will look at the advertisement and start to read it. Then to interest him so that he will continue to read it. Then to convince him so that when he has read it, he will believe it. If an advertisement contains these three qualities of success, it is a successful advertisement. So known examples are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Liberté, égalité, fraternité, which is the slogan of the French Republic. Mars a day helps you work, rest, and play, from the Mars bar advertisement from 1959. Stop, look, and listen for public road safety. Stop, drop, and roll for fire safety. Faster, higher, stronger, which is the Olympic motto. Veni, vidi, vici, a triad translated from Latin as I came, I saw, I conquered. Slip, slop, slap, which is an Australian sun protection campaign. Which I fucking love.
Trojan, you can have that one.
The rule of three comes in comedy. There's something known as a comic triple, and it's used in many comedic devices, regularly used by humorous writers and comedians. The third element of the triple is often used to create an effect of surprise with the audience, as frequently the punchline of the joke itself. Examples of the stereotype being like an Englishman, an Irishman, and a Scotsman walk into a bar, a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead. These things like are really, really like huge in comedy. In fact, I just recently started a new job, and one of the guys I work with is like a budding comedian. It's like his passion is what he wants to do. And I asked him, and I was like, have you heard of the comic triple? He's like, absolutely. It's one of the most important parts of what I do.
It's also big in storytelling too, right?
Absolutely. We get into fairy tales. Yeah. Rumpelstiltskin spins thrice for the hero.
I just mean even in the structure. There's the introduction, there's the setup, the climax, and the resolution.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So like Rumpelstiltskin, he spins thrice for the heroine and lets her guess his name 3 times over 3 days. There's a number of ones here in the fairy tales I haven't really heard of, but there's like in the east of the sun and the west of the moon, a story I'm unfamiliar with. The heroine gives 3 gifts while searching for her lost husband. When she finds out he is held prisoner, she must use them thrice to bribe her way to the hero. So on and so forth. In literature, Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, Marley's ghost tells Ebenezer Scrooge he will be visited by 3 spirits, past, present, and future. Fiddler on the Roof, I thought this was kind of cool. He must give his 3 eldest daughters away in the story, one after the other, like for marriage purposes. Each match progressively challenges his faith, as represented by a monologue in which he argues with himself using the phrase, on the other hand. Everything's in threes. Julius Caesar from Shakespeare. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. Rhetoric and public speaking, Martin Luther King. He was known for the uses of tripling and the rule of 3 throughout his many influential speeches. For example, the speech Nonviolence and Racial Justice contained a binary position made up of the rule of 3, insult, injustice, and exploitation, followed by a few lines later by justice, goodwill, and brotherhood. Winston Churchill's reference to blood toils, the phrase that we're probably more familiar with, blood, sweat, and tears, was actually shortened from Winston Churchill's reference, blood, toil, tears, and sweat. And that's a pretty common thing to shorten stuff down. Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan describes the importance of community without life would be solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. But commonly, we know it as nasty, brutish, and short. Like we do it instinctually at this point to actually shrink it all down. Even in law, tell us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. It goes on. And like there's tons of references, tons of things to click on this page. There's things known as Welsh triads and Irish triads. They all just link into so many different parts of culture from so many different parts of the world. It is one of the most fascinating things I've read in a long time.
So one of the fundamental laws of the human race is the rule of 3.
The rule of 3. Who'da thunk?
You've heard it here first, folks. Fuck Douglas Adams. The secret to the universe is 3.
It's 3. And I actually don't mind saying, too, that while I was writing the exposition that everyone's going to hear over the next 5 weeks, I accidentally put a certain number of elements into 3. You may not notice it, but in the background, like thinking about how I did it, I realized I was like, didn't want to overburden myself or make it too confusing. I'm sure it's going to be confusing enough, but I found myself doing things in 3s. There might only be 3 characters at a given time that I might describe or something like that. I just did it instinctually. It was after I had it all written that I came across this, and I thought, weird. That is so unnerving.
So this is like kerning. Once you see it, you can't ever go back.
Exactly.
Don't ever Google kerning, listeners. It will destroy your life.
Shout out to my friend Riley and his wife Heather and Danny Greyhood, who did our logo.
At Greyhood on Twitter.
They work in a lot of graphic design and everything, but Riley particularly specializes in typeface design. And Dan and his wife and a whole bunch of people often help in a lot of their big projects, and it is outrageous. When I asked about kerning, my mind was blown.
Fucking kills me. Kills me.
That's kerning with a Kerning. Do not look it up.
Yeah.